I would ask that the Capitol Police, whose professionalism I admire,
The Secretary
remove
of
those.
War hadn't even finished his first sentence before the room erupted, and Capitol Police had to step in. This is the Senate Appropriations Committee, July 21st, 2026. Pete Hegseth is there to defend a $1.5 trillion budget and a $67 billion emergency request for a war in Iran now in its fifth month. But before the numbers, before the questions, the hearing almost couldn't start at all.
Today. Secretary Hegseth, we will begin with your testimony. Please proceed.
Well, Chair Collins, Vice Chair Murray, members of the Senate Committee on Appropriations, thank you for the opportunity to testify on President Trump's supplemental funding request for the Department of War. As you know, we live in a dangerous world that requires bold and swift action. Hence, this supplemental request for fiscal year 2026. This request is an urgent, necessary injection of resources to address the immediate needs of our department. The supplemental funding request is not a substitute.
The witness will suspend until order is restored in the committee room. I know that individuals feel very passionately, but we must have order in the hearing room so that we can proceed. We're now going to move forward with our hearing, and Secretary Hegseth, please proceed.
Thank you. The supplemental funding request is not a substitute for the President's full $1.5 trillion base budget request. $1.5 trillion.
Mr. Secretary, please suspend until order is restored in the hearing room. We will begin the timing clock since you've been interrupted twice.
Thank you.
Please proceed.
$1.5 trillion is what the President seeks and what we need to defend the country. The members of this committee understand better than most that long-term strategic dominance cannot be funded through one-off supplementals.
We will have order in the hearing room. Mr. Secretary, please proceed.
Collectively, the budget proposals submitted under President Trump follow a simple logic.
I would ask that the Capitol Police, whose professionalism I admire,
Four
remove
stops,
those.
a restarted clock, a direct order to Capitol Police. That's the room itself, on the record, not our framing. Before the hearing could even settle, the chair had already acknowledged something heavier hanging over the room that day.
Statement.
Thank you very much, Chair Collins, and thank you to all of our witnesses who are here today. I first, too, do want to acknowledge the loss of one of our colleagues on this dais. Like so many, I was very shocked and saddened to learn of Senator Graham's passing. We disagreed on many issues, but there was no denying the energy that Lindsey brought to this job. And whenever we could, we found common ground and managed to get something done. So I just wanted to express that my heart goes out to his family, friends, and loved ones today. Now, I want to start with a few facts. 143 days ago, President Trump started a war of his own choosing with Iran. He did not consult Congress. He did not get authorization from Congress. He did not build a coalition of allies. He did not make a case to the American people, nor did he ever win their support. 2/3 of Americans opposed the war. And the President's decision had catastrophic costs. 17 American service members have now died. And that includes 3 who tragically lost their lives over the last few days, and another is still missing. Several hundred more have been injured, including nearly 100 who've been hurt just in the last few weeks. We owe all of them and their families a debt of gratitude that we can never repay. Thousands of civilians have also been killed, and this administration will not tell the public or Congress the true financial costs of this war, but we know it is very well into the tens of billions of dollars. Tax dollars we could have
That's
spent.
the backdrop the entire hearing sat inside. A colleague's death and a war whose human cost hadn't been fully accounted for yet in either direction. Watch what happens when the committee tries to pin down the actual number.
Thinking
now.
and bureaucracy,
Let me proceed, if I
it
might,
was
before-
staggering when we took
I hate
over.
to
So
interrupt
one
you.
big beautiful bill gave us a
Let
chance
me
to
interrupt
get
your
caught
speech
back
for a
up.
minute, Mr. Secretary. It's my turn to ask questions. I've been listening patiently while you made your presentation. You estimated at one point that the cost of the war in Iran was $29 billion, but then added a caveat that there was a replacement of munitions, for example. Do you have a new estimate about what the war has cost us so far in this, the 5th month of the first year of this war in Iran?
Senator, the estimate we have as of today is $37.5 billion.
And is the current activity, which we've been told about, the exchange of fire back and forth in Iran, an indication that that number is going to go up in the months ahead?
Some of that number captures additional O&M, mill pay, and other that would be anticipated through the fiscal year. So some of that anticipates what costs would be going out in the future as well.
So the new number you've given me is what?
$37.5 billion.
2 months earlier, the Pentagon's number was $29 billion. That morning on the record, it became $37.5 billion, and Hegseth himself said it would keep climbing. That's the number this entire budget fight is actually about. We break hearings like this down clip by clip. Subscribe if you want the next one straight from the record. That same afternoon, a different senator pressed Hegseth on something more basic than cost: consistency. Months earlier, both Hegseth and President Trump said Iran's nuclear program had been destroyed. Then, in February, the war started anyway.
The American people.
Not unlimited bombs, Senator. I'm asking for the right bombs at the right time to ensure we can deter our adversaries into the future. And that's why this is a
Okay,
generational
but see,
investment.
Mr.
And it was the
Secretary
previous
Hegseth,
administration
the reason why
that
people
didn't fund
are
this
so
department.
upset,
They
the
didn't
reason
fund
why
it.
they are so upset with you and this administration is because the words you have used in the past don't add up. About Iran specifically, you said that we had obliterated, quote unquote, Iran's ability to create nuclear weapons. The president made the same claim. Yet 8 months later, in February of 2026, the president launched an act of war claiming Iran was within 2 weeks of having a weapon. So when you say two very different things, the American people don't know who to believe or what to believe. They just know they can't afford their health care, they can't afford their food, they can't afford housing, and our farmers are continuing to suffer. So, which is true? Was it obliterated or wasn't it? What's the status?
The nuclear sites under Midnight Hammer were obliterated, but Iranians foolishly continued to attempt to pursue nuclear capabilities, which is why we destroyed their defense industrial base and
Okay.
so many of the other capabilities
let's
to
take-
ensure they can't get to a nuclear weapon. See, we're staying laser focused on the objective, and you're trying to make campaign commercials.
No, we're
and
not.
that's fine.
So listen to this. You also say that you made the missile program, quote, destroyed and made combat ineffective, quote, Iran's entire ballistic missile production capacity, every company that builds every component of those missiles has been functionally defeated and destroyed, and that the missile program, existing stockpiles were depleted and decimated, almost completely ineffective. So why are there missiles left to hit Jordan and result in the loss of life of our brave men and women?
As we stated from the beginning, the Iranian defense industrial base is effectively gone. But they do have underground facilities because they're the world's leading state sponsor of terrorism, and they've spent 47 years trying to hide their missiles under mountains, just like their nuclear capabilities, because they
Neither
would like to
side
get
back down. Hegseth's answer was that obliterated referred to specific sites, not the whole program. The senator's read was that the word had been used to close the argument, not describe it. Judge that for yourself. The war wasn't the only money being questioned that day. Earlier in the session, before Hegseth even sat down, Senator Richard Blumenthal used his time on a separate thread entirely, this one about the president himself. Blumenthal has pursued this question since Trump's first term, when he sued over it and won at the district court level, before losing on procedural grounds. Here's what he told the committee this time.
Air Force One, but he wants to take that jet and then install it as part of his private library. In fact, he may use it afterward. We don't know. What we do know is costly modifications were required to ensure the installation of multiple top-secret systems to get the plane flight ready, and now it has to go back for more work because, in fact, the security system right now is inadequate. But we know taxpayers are going to foot the bill, a benefit to the president, probably in excess of $1 billion. That jet barely scratches the surface of emoluments going to President Trump. In 2025, President Trump and his son took about $500 million for a 49% stake in the Trump family crypto business, World Liberty Financial, invested by the MGX Fund Management Limited, which is an investment firm in turn backed by a UAE sovereign wealth fund, at the initiative of Sheikh Chanoun, the UAE's national security advisor, and the brother of the UAE's president. In other words, an investment by the UAE wealth fund controlled by the ruling family of the UAE for 49% in World Liberty Financial, $500 million. And then, magically, President Trump approved sales of $1.4 million in military equipment for the UAE. And in addition,
None of this is a court ruling. It's one senator's accusation laid into the same afternoon's record as the war spending. Whether the two threads connect or not, the committee heard both. Late in the hearing, one senator made the casualty numbers personal, naming the soldiers' home state and asking Hegseth directly what he'd say to their families.
First, I want to express my condolences and my respect for the 17 American service members killed in this war since February, including 3 over the past few days. Their lives are the price this country has paid for this war. The deadliest day for U.S. forces was on March 1st, when an Iranian drone struck an army facility at Port Shuaibah, Kuwait, killing 6 soldiers and injuring more than 30 others, including soldiers from Wisconsin. Soldiers from the unit stationed at Port Shuaibah told reporters that the facility did not have adequate air defense capabilities. These soldiers and their families believe they were sent into harm's way without the defenses they needed. Secretary Hegseth, what would you say to those soldiers and their families?
First of all, that we honor and recognize their sacrifice and what they've given. I've been in touch with at least one of those families on a regular basis and understand the pain of losing a loved one is unfathomable, which is why we greeted them at Dover, and we'll greet those again tomorrow. I would say in talking to Admiral Cooper, the CENTCOM commander, before all of this was undertaken, maximizing defensive capabilities.
That's the only moment in this hearing where the tone actually changes. A direct question about specific soldiers and a direct non-combative answer. Not every exchange that day was a fight.
So this is a regime hell-bent on nuclear ambitions, and
Guys,
President Trump's been willing to
straight
go after them.
answers. We need straight answers. Do we have the ability to destroy whatever is underneath Pickaxe Mountain?
Senator, a lot of our capabilities are classified, but if anybody in the world can reach anything on God's green earth, it's the United States military, the most powerful military in the world. It's all about options and trade-offs.
All right. I'm going to take a little extra time because others got it, Madam Chair. I won't abuse it. Secretary, are shrimpers farmers?
Absolutely, yes. There are farmers of the sea.
Are oyster harvesters farmers?
Yes. In this USDA,
They
yes.
having to compete with other countries who grow oysters and shrimp in a ditch and shoot them full of antibiotics?
100% yes.
And if you eat too much of that foreign shrimp and oysters, you'll grow an extra ear, won't you?
I'm not sure about that, but I know it is not good. And I also know we
Why
import
aren't we
90% of our
inspecting
shrimp.
the shrimp and the oysters from abroad?
Well, it goes much larger than that. Why are we importing so much from abroad, which goes to the
Line up
president's
what
trading?
actually happened in one afternoon, a hearing that stopped 4 times before it could start. A war cost estimate that climbed from $29 billion to $37.5 billion in 2 months, with Hegseth saying it isn't done climbing. 17 service members dead, according to the vice chair, including 3 in the days just before this hearing. A direct contradiction, unresolved, over whether Iran's nuclear program was actually obliterated. A separate accusation from Senator Blumenthal about $500 million moving from the UAE into the president's own crypto company. And a closing sentiment from a senator asking about shrimp of all things that somehow summed up the whole afternoon. We need straight answers. None of this proves a crime, and not every number here is settled. The war's cost, the casualty count, the emoluments claim all came from people in that room, not from a court. What's certain is what's on the record, the interruptions, the figures, and the exchange you just watched. Subscribe for the next hearing, broken down clip by clip, straight from the public record.